Hello, welcome to VR Roundtable, episode 51. My name is Gary, and joining me is Anthony and Chris this week. Steve's not able to make it, unfortunately, but he'll be back for the next episode, episode 52. But this week we're a little bit light on news stories. We had that midweek episode for anybody who missed that. It was episode 50.5, so you can go back and check that out on both the YouTube channel and also the iTunes feed and the podcast feed for other places as well. We discussed mainly in that episode, it was sort of really dedicated to the news that came out on Monday last week about the Windows mixed reality headsets and also some of the titles that are going on with that. So yeah, check that out if you haven't done so already. But yeah, we've got a few news stories that we still want to go into, and then we'll probably get into a little bit of a topic or two, and also some maybe very light games that we've been playing as well this week, because I don't know if anybody's got anything substantial to talk about on that front either. But anyway, Anthony, how are you this week?
I'm doing really good, but hey, this is the weather report from Sacramento that Steve loves to have. Dude, the weather here, I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's been like 110, 111. I'm talking every day, like 109. But that would be bad enough. Sacramento, it's a dry heat. I can live with that. I'm okay with the dry heat. It's the humidity. Like if you go to Hawaii, the humidity, oh my goodness. But the dry heat is okay. But the problem that we're having in addition to all of this is there's fires all over Northern California. And so all the smoke where I am in Sacramento, it's a valley, and the smoke basically just parks right on top of our valley. And it is just, the air is garbage, absolute garbage. Like if you are somebody that likes to jog or play tennis or go out and shoot some basket hoops or whatever you like to do, you probably want to stay inside because, oh my God, the air is awful. Like looking at the sun, it's like a completely different color because of how much smoke and stuff is in the air. And I'm trying to play some VR too, but it's been hard. But other than that, everything's going great.
Yeah, the weather is crazy. It sounds like it's crazy over there because obviously even the news from it's spread over here from Houston, you know, all the flooding and things that has been happening over there. So it's even got to us in the UK, you know, we're hearing a lot about this.
Hey, you know what? I'm just talking about freaking this weather, and people are flooded out in Houston. I mean, slap me. Come on, what's wrong with me?
No, it was just because you had that weather thing. It was, but yeah, it's crazy that flooding, because we have flooding in this country, but obviously it's nothing close to what's been going on over there. But it does seem mad, the weather at the moment. Everything seems to be up, change, and you can take
absolutely.
Take that how it's, you know, we don't know what's going on, whether it's all climate change or whether it's just sort of an anomaly or whatever, we don't know. But anyway, let's get off that. Chris, how are you this week?
I'm good. I finished my first week of classes, so that's good. They're all okay. I don't know. Yeah, haven't really had much time to play VR, but it's good to be here. I don't know.
Good stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the show now. The first news story we've got a few smaller ones that we can talk about because we had quite a sort of in-depth discussion last time about the Windows mixed reality. So let's get into this other thing that hit on the same day or the day before about last week, which was the Google ARCore, which is really technology that's in these mobile phones, these Google Android devices, which is really, I don't know if it's a replacement for Google Tango or whether it's sort of taking over from that. But Google Tango was a piece of technology that they were developing, which used specific sensors. So it had dedicated sort of depth sensing cameras and all these kinds of things, whereas ARCore is now more to do with sort of standard mobile phone technologies, just standard cameras and all this kind of stuff. So it's a lot more accessible for both consumers and also for developers to get into as well. But it's interesting because ARCore is really to rival Apple's ARKit that was announced a few months ago. And they both seem pretty comparable in their demonstrations that I've seen. I don't know whether either of you guys have seen too much about this. There's not a lot of information out there, but Chris, I'll go over to you first. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I saw the announcement video they did, and there's some little cool tidbits about kind of how it can relate to VR. Like I know you can transfer some what is that? Google Blocks. You can transfer Google Block stuff into ARCore eventually. So that's kind of cool. You can kind of place your VR objects in the real world and see how they look. It looks really promising. And like they have some stuff with lighting and shadows. So yeah, it looks great. It only works with a few phones right now, or will when it gets released. I don't think it's released just yet, but I'm hoping they can, broadly release it so it's not just confined to like the Pixel and the newest phones.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll get there with that. Anthony, did you see this news story, and what do you think of this ARCore? And also, actually, what are your thoughts on ARKit by Apple? I don't know if we've really gone into that too much.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. Whenever, like, I've heard about the Apple AR kit and like a lot of talk about that. I remember there was that one video where they showed I think it was like somebody doing like sit-ups or something, and they were like on the ground doing sit-ups, and then they were like running up the stairs and showing it like, look, it's still there, it's still in this perfect spot. And lots of people were like, oh my God, this is amazing. What I come back to every time I see this is like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. It's like one of those, oh, gee whiz kind of things. But beyond that, like, how are you going to, like, is somebody going to have like a 2-hour experience with this? How are you going to have a 2-hour experience with it? Because you're basically holding up your phone, right? And you're like looking around the world and you're seeing this stuff. And it just seems like it's cool for like a quick little, like, oh, this is cool, check this out. But then, does it have anything beyond that? Because ultimately, this stuff has to be more than just gee whiz type of stuff to be successful, I think. But it's great. The good news is all this stuff is leading us to that future. We know that future is coming, and everything is baby steps. And so all of these things are kind of slowly getting us there. And then also having that AR that people can play around with, even on like regular phones and stuff. I believe this one requires Google Pixel or the Samsung Galaxy S8, and you have to be running Android 7.0 or something like that to get this to work. But when it hits much more phones and stuff, it's just everybody can kind of see, oh, this is what this AR stuff is about, and it's good for the industry in general from that point.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good for the industry overall, but like you say, it's sort of leading somewhere. I guess this is sort of the first step, and it's interesting to see all these first steps that are being made in this area, because what we all want, we don't want to hold our phone up. We want glasses. We want to wear some glasses that will then do the same job, but be much more immersive. And, that's sort of the end goal, I suppose.
Hey, you know how they have those selfie sticks that you hold out?
Yeah.
Maybe they could just make one. It like attaches to your shoulders and it just kind of holds out and sits right there, and then you can be AR and everything.
Yeah, it's like I say, I think it's good technology. Whether how compelling it will be in this first sort of iteration, both ARCore and ARKit, we don't know.
Yeah, one of the coolest demos I've ever seen with ARKit was like a tape measure demo, and you could accurately measure stuff like down to the centimeters just with one camera. So I thought that was pretty impressive. I mean, that just goes to show like inside out tracking is coming really soon, like on mobile headsets especially. This technology will translate right over to that, I think.
Yeah, I saw that demo too, and that was one of the most impressive things, because what they actually did this tape measure demo next to an actual tape measure that was in real life, so you could actually see its accuracy as well. It didn't move, and it stayed there, and it was fantastic. So it speaks to how well this technology works. So the next news story that I've got is that the TPCast is now available to pre-order over here in Europe. I don't know. The last I heard, I've been away for a few days, I should have mentioned, so I haven't really been following VR news for a couple of days. But the last I heard, it was sort of gone up for pre-order over here in Europe, but the US was still waiting. Can you guys speak to that? Do you know if it's gone up for pre-order now in the US?
I don't think so.
I'm just checking an article and it says you can pre-order it on the Microsoft Store, but I think that's the only place you can pre-order it right now in the US.
Okay.
Do they have a price for it? Because I heard the price is outrageous.
Well,
$2.99.
yeah, that's what I was going to get onto. This is sort of ridiculous over here. I mean, over here in the UK, we can order it from a company called Scan, and also another company called Overclockers, but I don't know if they've got any their pre-orders live at the moment. But either way, Scan are putting this up on their pre-order page for around £320, which translates to over $400. So, you know, it's sort of a little bit of a ridiculous price, I think. I don't know. From all the comments that I've been reading about this, most people are saying, you know, that the cable really isn't that much of a hindrance to warrant that kind of price. I mean, I'm sure if you've used it, and this is what people say, if you've used the wireless headset, it completely revolutionizes the experience. But is it really that worth that money?
There's probably a core group of people that they feel that they could price this at $500, and a core group of people will buy it because they want it so bad. But the VR market, even though, because this isn't known to work with like the Oculus Rift quite well, is it? I mean, I know it works with the HTC Vive, but I don't know that anybody's mentioned it working with the Oculus Rift. Now, if it worked with that as well, then I could kind of see them being aggressive with the pricing in the beginning, because you can start off high with your pricing and you can always come down, and you can get that first wave of early adopters that kind of want to buy it almost regardless of price. And with all the recent Oculus owners that have come into the fold, you have some people have said that an extra 100,000 people have joined the VR club recently with these sales. And so you could imagine that there might be a percentage of those people that would like to go wireless, but I don't think it's been shown to work with the Oculus in any way. So this is more of an HTC Vive thing, and the market's kind of limited. So I imagine they're going to come out with this high price and see where their market is, and then they'll have to readjust it.
Yeah.
I wanna try it at least. I don't know how I could do that. It's so weird looking at it. I didn't know that they just use like USB power banks to power it. I didn't know that's how they were gonna do that.
Chris, you're going to hate it though, because no microphone right now until they fix a firmware bug or whatever it is. And you're all about that microphone.
All about it. Yeah. You know, that's one of the things I love about the Rift is how much better the mic is than the Vive. That's really annoying. But hopefully one day we'll all have good mics.
Yeah, and that's something else to remember as well, because this TPCast, it's not perfect. And there's obviously this news that we had a few months ago about the Intel solution for this kind of stuff as well. So that's supposed to be being released sort of early next year. So, you know, a lot of people, I would imagine, will hold out for that and see how that's priced and also how well it performs.
Hey, Gary, so with this TPCast, like, what price would it have to have right now for you where you would be like, I'm ordering this, I'm doing it? Like, what price would it need to be?
I'd say sort of at the very high limit, I'd say £200. I was thinking about this actually before the show, and what price would it need to be? If it was 150, there's no question I'd purchase it at 150. 200 is probably the upper limit of what I'd probably go to. Yeah, you know, 250 would be sort of ridiculous, I think, for just to remove the cable from the experience, when you know that we've got next generation headsets coming out at some point and they'll probably include all of this stuff. It feels like too much of a waste of money at this stage.
Chris, what about you? What do you think about the price, or what would be your price?
Yeah, I honestly, thinking about it, I'd probably spend like $199 on it. So if it was $100 less, I might jump on it, just because I have such a giant space in my apartment right now that like it'd be super cool. But yeah, I think 150 is really the sweet spot for a lot of people to buy one.
Yeah. For me, it would be $199. You know, because I always think of I mean, I'm that guy. I'm that guy that always thinks like somebody will say 199 and I'm like, okay, well, you're really talking about 235 when you talk tax, shipping, you know. I always think of like that end grand, the money that's actually leaving my checking account. You know, what is that total? The total that's actually departing. And for me, the grand total that I'd be willing to shell out would be like 250 grand total, but it would have to be like 229.99 to be able to squeeze it all in under 250, because all these shipping costs and everything can be outrageous as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing to mention. You know, these the shipping costs over here are not too bad. I think it's around sort of £11-12 to get it shipped over, and they're expecting these to ship around the 20th, sort of around the 20th, 24th of October. So that's when you can get your hands on one of these things if you pre-order today. So yeah, I don't think I'll be going for it, but I'll be interested to hear how well they perform when these are sort of shipped over in quantities that people can, because we have heard reports about how well these perform, and they perform pretty well by all accounts. But even so, I can't imagine spending that amount of money just for a wireless add-on at this point.
There are certain games though that would be, oh my God, like Racket NX. You know, Racket NX, you're constantly turning in a corner. Or I just think like whenever Chris talks about that gigantic space that he has, I think about Unseen Diplomacy with no cord. That's my ultimate demo. Like anybody comes over, like once I have wireless, that's my ultimate demo. It's like just walk around, crawl, do whatever. There's no cord, there's no worry. I mean, that would be a dream.
Yeah, the one I always think of, and it's a game that I've not really played since I first got my Vive, is Hollow Point. I don't know if you guys have tried that one, but that's one that was unavoidable. You know, you get entangled up in your cable on that game. Yeah. So anyway, the next news story that we've got is PlayStation is, you know, we've had these sort of news about price reductions for the HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift recently, but PlayStation really haven't had a major price drop or anything like that. But what they're doing now is they're bundling a camera in with the PlayStation VR for $399, and they've also got a separate bundle as well where you can get the Move controllers and a game as well for $449. So this is a pretty good deal. You know, if you don't already own a camera or PlayStation Move, then this is really the one you want to go for. But yeah, Chris, I know that because like me, you own a HTC Vive and an Oculus Rift. Is this tempting you to get a PlayStation VR as well at all?
It kind of, for the games it would, but it's just I'd rather have like PC VR than go to a console, and I've never owned a console in my life. So if I owned a PS4, I would definitely jump on it, but since I don't, I'll have to pass for now.
Yeah,
Chris, what game on is there a couple of games on PlayStation VR where you're like, damn, I really wish that was on PC VR? Or do you feel like you've mostly dodged, like there isn't anything like super important?
I think I've mostly dodged it. I can't remember the specific name of the specific titles, but yeah, most of the games I was excited about that were only on PSVR finally made their way over to PC anyway, eventually. Yeah, I don't know. I like controller games every once in a while, so it seems like there's kind of more of those on the PSVR side that just don't get released on the PC side for whatever reason. So I don't know.
Okay,
sounds good.
Yeah, just moving on to the next one then. The Windows mixed reality, we covered this quite heavily in our last episode, as I said, but they've now got an official release date of October the 17th. Now, when we did our last show, I think I heard that the Dell was going to be released on October the 17th anyway at that point, but now we've had word that all of these headsets are going to be released on that date. And presumably that will fall in line with the update for Windows as well, the Windows 10 creators for...
That's the day it's available. The fall creators, that's the day, yeah. So it's basically like this has to be there that day, and then like developers are able to use the headsets without that right now, or maybe they have a preview version of the fall creators update that they're using. And then so when it goes wide, everybody that's when these headsets start trickling out. And I think there's maybe like 3 or 4 of these headsets that are actually going to trickle out right around October 17th. And then a couple other ones might be a little bit later to the party. But the good thing about this is October 17th isn't that far away. And I said this in the bonus episode and I'll keep saying it. I just love the fact that we're adding this extra thing into the marketplace, because I think it really will give everybody kind of that kick in the pants, and everybody kind of has to step up their game. And I'm super curious too. I really want to see, I'm not getting one of these, unless somebody wants to send me one, but I'm not getting one of these right away, as far as I know. But I'm super curious to see just the average person get their hands on it and run it through their paces, play Space Pirate Trainer on it and play Arizona Sunshine on it and move around quickly. Because I want to know about, is there that smear when you quickly turn your head? And then they were talking about, the wobbling, like maybe one of these headsets is a little bit more sturdy than the others. I don't know. So these are going to be good questions to find the answers to. And October 17th is not that long away.
No, it's really not. Chris, I'll mention this. I was talking about PlayStation VR. Are you thinking about getting that? But what about these headsets? Are these on your radar at all to pick up?
They're tempting. I think if I had sold my Vive when the price was still high, I probably would have jumped for one of these just to see what it's like. And theoretically, you could have a big play space and it would still work, because it just uses like world scale or whatever they're calling it.
I heard something like it's 50 feet by 50 feet or something.
That's cool.
If you had that much wire, like you would need a cord. The good news though is about their cord, it's just USB and HDMI. That's it. Kind of like the Rift.
Yeah, that is good. I don't know. It's so interesting. Like that's way sooner than I thought. I'm like, whoa, that's like a month and a few days away. That's kind of freaky how soon that's going to enter the market. But it'll really be interesting to see, like, there's got to be someone who buys all of them, or like a news outlet, and really finds out what the best like build quality is or the best screen. Because like they're all so similar. There's got to be one that stands out, hopefully. So like I'm wondering what everyone's going to eventually decide is like the best mixed reality headset, and like everyone will buy that.
The other thing too is like starting on October 17th, like the headsets are coming out, but I'm kind of curious about the Windows Store. Like I want to go on their store. I want to see, what does it look like on their store? What are they showing? Do they have any exclusive games because they had that picture of those logos, that had all the logos and all the companies. And there were a couple like names of games that I wasn't too familiar with, but they didn't sound like anything incredible. But I'm sure they have to have a handful of some little exclusives, or maybe also some special VR experiences that companies have been working on in the background with Microsoft support, stuff like Mayubi and those kinds of things, where it's not necessarily a game, but more of an experience. And there could be some cool stuff there. So, yeah,
well, actually, I wanted to mention this on the last episode, but I was listening to, there's a game coming out it's a flat monitor game as well called Luna, but it's also a VR game. Now, this is one that I heard the producer of this game, one of the owners of this studio called Phenomenon. They were on Kind of Funny Games cast, and they were talking about this game Luna, which is also going to be a VR game. Now, whenever they were sort of talking about the VR aspects of this during this interview, they were sort of mentioning how they made a point of mentioning mixed reality. They made a point of saying not just VR, but mixed reality. And this was way before it'd been announced that this was going to be one of the titles that was coming to Windows Mixed Reality. So it's interesting that they must have some kind of agreement with Microsoft in order to push this part forward, to say, not just call it VR, to call it mixed reality. And like I say, it was sort of, it was glaring during this interview. If you go back and listen to this interview, it's glaring when she says that this is a mixed reality title, as well as, it's VR mixed reality. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'm sure Microsoft must have pushed some kind of funding developers ways in order to get some kind of support early on.
That first trailer that they had, that was one of the 13 things that they showed off. Luna was one of them in there.
That's right, yeah. And Luna looks like quite an interesting title because it's by the developer is previously from the producer of Journey, an acclaimed PS4 game as well. So it's certainly a title to look out for. Anyway, we can move on to the next news story we have down here. So this is just Metaworld VR. Anthony, you put this one down here, and this is a title that I'm interested in as well. But why don't you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, so Metaworld VR is something I've been following for a little bit. And the most interesting thing about this really is not so much Metaworld VR, the game itself, or the developer Hello VR that's developing the game. I'm actually more interested in seeing the first fruits of Improbable, Spatial OS, this operating system that this British tech startup has created. Improbable is their name, and they're valued at well over $1 billion, maybe close to $2 billion at this point. And the reason why there's so much excitement about this company is they're trying to develop a system where you can basically create like these virtual worlds that are completely persistent. Things can be added and taken away, and it reflects that over time, and massively multiplayer. All these things that we hear about. But as somebody that's into VR, and I'm also into like science fiction, and I kind of have, I don't know, I'm into like space and weird stuff like that. And one thing I've kind of thought about, and this is kind of going off on a tangent real quick, but there's something called the Fermi paradox, right? Which is like, if you go back to like the Drake equation and everything, there's so many millions of planets and universes and all that stuff. And like, if you analyze all that, there should be like thousands of alien civilizations that should be visiting us at all times, because there should be just billions of them, and some of them have to be super advanced, and they should be checking in on us. And the Fermi paradox is like, where are they? Where are all these alien civilizations? This doesn't make sense. So maybe we are the only ones. But what I'm starting to think is, with VR and AR and this type of thing, is that once a civilization gets technologically advanced enough to create their own kind of realities, it could get to a point. It's kind of a scary thought if you think about it in that kind of a sense, but it's like Ready Player One. I mean, you could get to a point where our virtual realities are so freaking good and so realistic, and that we spend the majority of our time in these artificial realities. And if you think about super advanced civilizations, maybe that's why they're not here. They're in their own private playgrounds. And going back to Metaworld VR, this is like the most prehistoric, like Atari 2600, like little stick figure of that kind of a concept of having a metaverse or what have you. But it's the first one, and it's exciting, and that's why Improbable is valued the way they are. And this enters early access on September 29th, I believe. And if you go to the Metaworld website, it's interesting because they have 3 options that you can sign up for. And really what you're doing is you're like kind of buying space in the world. Like if you sign up for $10, you get a cabin, you get 1/4 of an acre, you get a couple of little like trinkets and things, and like a survival guide. And then if you pay $30, you get like this villa, and you get a car, and you get like custom interiors. And then for $100, $100 is actually for like vendors. Do you guys remember what was the PlayStation thing where they tried to create like a world on PlayStation that people would kind of walk around, and like companies would actually make little special places in the PlayStation? It was PlayStation Home, was it called? Or
I'm not too sure, no. Because
you remember that? Oh man, it was a number of years ago. PlayStation had like this social thing where you could walk around and do, but it was crap.
Yeah, it was PlayStation Home.
PlayStation
that was
Home,
such a cool
okay.
thing.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a Second Life or something like that. That's what they were thinking, right? And so this is like this is the more advanced version of that. And supposedly you can get in here and you can swim with people in lakes. You can go fishing. You can sit around at the campfire. So it sounds super interesting, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, this, like I say, this is one that I've had my eye on since it was announced about Improbable. You talk about Improbable and their funding a few months ago. We heard about how they had this huge amount of funding put their way. And looking into them a little bit more, I found out that Metaworld VR was supposed to be the first title that used that technology that this company developed. So I've had it on my wish list, actually. You can check it out on Steam now. Yeah, I'll be looking into this. Chris, you, I don't know if you've heard of Metaworld VR, but obviously, this is the first step, and we've spoken about Ready Player One in the past, and that's really where my interest lies in something like this. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I think the same thing. And yeah, on the website, it says it's a 10,000 square mile open world. So that's cool. Like you're kind of buying space on like a limited size or whatever. But yeah, it's just so cool that this is going to be all one server. Like this is the first game, I think, ever that's just like kind of made this persistent world where everyone can see everybody and, you don't have to switch worlds to go with your friends or whatever. So just from like growing up with, things like Club Penguin and like RuneScape and stuff, it's cool to see finally something that everyone will share the same space. So that'll be really interesting to log in and see what that's like.
Yeah, and it speaks towards something that I'm a big fan of, like No Man's Sky. Maybe one day we'll see that in VR, but I've spoken about that enough anyway.
I'm wondering how people are going to act in this place. Like, are they going to, is it almost going to be like a live action, like LARPing, like, are people going to like play into the idea, or are they going to be just like, hey, what's up, dude? Want to go to this campfire? Yeah, man, this fucking sucks, or are they going to be like, hey, let's go to this campfire and like try to like really like be in the world, So it's going to be, I think it's going to be one of these things that's either going to be awesome or like a total dud.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It could be the beginning of something.
Yeah, I want it to be really good, but I wonder how the practicalities of making the player within that world have some kind of agency as well. It's not just like you're there existing within this world. You need things to do. You need quests, and this is why something like Rec Room, they have quests now and all of these games that people can go in and do on a multiplayer level. And I think that Metaworld needs some extra layer beyond just being a world that you can interact and survive in. I think you need something else in there.
Well, they talk about a survivor's kit. I wonder if there are like almost in Minecraft or something, like, do you have to, is there a threat? I mean, I don't even know.
I mean, no, you have the problem. You have the problem of overcrowding at some point, I'd think. It's just like in the real world. Like, what if everyone wants to do one quest and there's literally just one place for the quest? So like hundreds of people are suddenly trying to do this quest at the same time. I don't know. It creates interesting problems that you wouldn't really think about.
Yeah. Okay, well, the last thing that we've got down on our list before we get into a quick topic is the Inpatient. Now, this is sort of a major release for PlayStation VR that's coming out. And so this has got a release date of November the 22nd now. The Inpatient is one that I saw it's been in various trailers. I think it was shown off at E3 and various other events as well early on. But this looks really, really good. I don't know exactly what it is, but it seems to be some kind of subtle horror, but narrative based as well. It looks interesting from the trailers. Anthony, what do you think of this? You own a PlayStation VR. Presumably you'll be picking this up.
Yeah. So Supermassive Games, like anybody that owns a PlayStation VR, most of them have played Rush of Blood, Until Dawn Rush of Blood, and a lot of people have played Tumble VR, and both of those are made by Supermassive Games, and both of them are absolutely fantastic. Like Until Dawn Rush of Blood is easily like one of the 5 best PlayStation VR games. It's a great game. And Tumble VR is awesome as well. So anything that Supermassive Games does is going to be highly anticipated by the entire PlayStation VR community. And they have the Inpatient. They also have a game called Bravo 6. It's coming this year as well. So they've got 2 games going on, but they've expanded and they're a bigger developer now. But when you look at the trailers and stuff of this game, it's kind of funny because it really seems like Supermassive Games and Twisted Pixel were thinking very similarly. You know, Wilson's Heart for the Oculus Rift. The Inpatient has a lot of similarities to that, and at least in the theme. I'm hoping the gameplay is quite a bit different, but in the theme, it seems very similar. And this is the big one for PlayStation VR this year, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I know we have Gran Turismo coming, Gran Turismo Sport, and there's some other games that are coming that are going to be pretty interesting. But I think this is like their big one. So November 22nd, you know, that's prime time release. So definitely looking forward to this one. And I mean, after Rush of Blood, I mean, these guys, I have much respect. Tumble VR, if you're a PlayStation VR owner, you've never tried Tumble VR, it's actually just like Jenga. You're like moving blocks around and stuff. Sounds super simple, but it just, the production value, the polish, the spit shine, it just really great experience. And it only needs really one move controller. So if you only got one move controller, it works great. But yeah, I'm super excited for Supermassive's upcoming games.
Chris, did you see the trailer for this game, The Inpatient? Because it looks interesting. I don't know if it's ever going to come over to PC VR, but it looks like a great title for PlayStation.
Yeah, it does look interesting. I mean, yeah, like you said, Anthony, it looks a lot like Wilson's Heart, but I'm really hoping there's like a little bit of difference in the gameplay. I have one more story that I forgot to tell you guys about that's pretty big and kind of cool. So I don't know. Are you guys cool with me saying it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't know if you saw this, but 2 days ago, Tested made a video about the Star Wars Jedi challenges thing. It uses the Lenovo Mirage AR headset, which is essentially like a smartphone-based AR system. So you like put the phone up here and then it reflects onto your eyes, I guess. It looks kind of cool. It actually has positional tracking with like a little base station you put on the floor, like a little IR light thing that goes on the floor. And then it comes with a lightsaber that has like a little tip, and then that gets tracked as well. It seems pretty interesting. It's only $200. So like it is a little bit of a gimmick probably, but I mean, that's like a good price to check out AR maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think about it?
I did see this as well. The $200 to me maybe might be a little bit too much for the experience that it's given. Although, you know, they've said that it's got quite a lot of hours of entertainment in it. It's got multiple games included. But the fact that it's sort of a smartphone that you're putting in the top of this headset, you know, I don't know how well it can work. And the Tested guys, I watched this video and they were sort of saying that it's not aware of, obviously, you know, when you know how this kind of stuff works, obviously that this character that's coming towards you in AR isn't aware of any of the other objects that are in your room, so it will completely ignore that. And also, if you turn your head, it won't be like a case where you've got a character coming towards you with a lightsaber attacking you. You can turn your head away and then turn back and it's still there. The character will actually follow the position of where your head is. So, you know, to me, it seems a little bit less impressive when I heard that particular point. The tracking, the puck that goes on the floor, this light tracking, is mainly for the, from what I know anyway, I didn't sort of research this in depth, but it's for the movement of the lightsaber, as far as I know. Chris, do you know anything more about this? How it works at all?
I'm pretty sure. I'm not positive, but I watched the video too. I'm pretty sure there is kind of positional tracking, but what they were saying is if you turn your head, like everything comes from in front of you, because if you turn your head, you miss the tracking puck. So it's really just like a front-facing experience in that regard.
Right.
But I think it has positional tracking, which is interesting. That's the first like mobile-based thing that I've seen have it.
Yeah, maybe I misunderstood that. Maybe it was I was thinking so, because that'd be great if it does have that single thing. I think that'll give it some kind of a little bit more realism. You know, if you can turn your head away and the character is still coming from you from the direction that's happening, then that'd be great. Anthony, did you see this video?
No, I haven't seen it, but I remember when me and Chris did a episode one time where I think it was me and Chris by ourselves, and we were looking for topics, and it was announced. Remember that day when this project was announced? You know, this Disney AR headset thing, and we were like, "What? Disney AR headset? What the heck is going on?" And then to see that it's actually releasing this year, $199. I'm always curious with Disney, because Disney is a major company. They've got incredible properties. And I feel like if something is going to happen in the entertainment world, which is what VR and AR is in the entertainment world, Disney's going to be on top of it. And I know that their executive, like their chief executive guy, Bob Iger, I believe, has been a little negative on VR and been very positive on AR. And I would love to check this thing out. Do you guys know if like do you order this off a website, or maybe will they have this at like Best Buy or something? Because I hope it's at at a Best Buy where I could go there and try it, maybe check it out. But as far as like me actually buying it and getting into it, it's hard to think about buying something like that is kind of limited to just what it is. You'd have to be a real Star Wars nut, I think. I'll tell you what, though, my son, about 6 or 7 years ago, would have just ate something like this up. I mean, my son, when he was little, he's a senior in high school now, and he's not into it as much. But like when he was little, he loved Star Wars and would play with lightsabers all day long in the backyard, and just imagine, you know, that he's in battles and stuff. And so an AR thing like this would be incredible for him. But, you know, we'll have to see how it works out.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. My son would love this, but like you say, it's difficult to imagine picking something like this up for that price when it's sort of dedicated to one thing. I'd love to give it a try, and I think something like this with the backing of Disney will be in retail stores, and I'm sure there'll be demos up and running because people need to try this. Honestly, I can't imagine an average consumer really understanding how this, if they've got no experience of VR or AR or anything like that, it'd be very difficult to picture yourself within this and how good it could possibly be. So I think they've got to have demos in there.
There'll probably be a lot of commercials and stuff, you know, because Disney, I mean, ABC, ESPN, that like they can shower the world with commercials of this if they wanted to. So I'm sure they'll have a little bit of that.
Yeah, the scary thing to me is that it works with like every phone basically, and they're trying to say like it'll work with anything. It'll work with iPhones, Androids, even like really old Androids. Like it says it'll work with devices with Android 4.1 and above. So that's kind of a little bit concerning, especially like I'd hope they had like an OLED limit or something, because like all OLEDs will just look infinitely better than LCDs in this use case. So that's a little disappointing, but I don't know. We'll have to see. It's really interesting. Like even the tested video didn't really explain like how good it is, or if it's, I don't know, like I'm still vague on if it's like really good or it's okay or it's crap. I don't know. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, they were going very middle of the road with it. They didn't sort of say it's great or it's very poor or anything.
Nobody wants to piss off Disney.
Yeah. Okay. Has anybody got anything else they want to quickly mention? We've got a quick topic we want to get into on this show as well. But
just one last quick mention I just wanted to mention Duck Season, which is a game coming from Stress Level Zero. Now, these are the Hover Junker guys. And this game was announced like a long time ago, and it was scheduled for third quarter 2017, and we're starting to run out of, you know, third quarter 2017 is almost expiring here. But they announced that it is coming out September 14th, 16th, I can't remember what it was. But they released a brand new trailer for it, and I don't know if you guys saw this trailer, but this game looks really interesting to me because it's like, I thought it was just like an ode to Duck Hunt, you know, like the classic Nintendo Duck Hunt. but maybe with some extra stuff thrown in. But after watching this trailer, it's almost like they're mixing a little bit of Stranger Things along with Five Nights at Freddy's, along with Duck Hunt, and they're kind of mixing it together, and it's almost like this horror thing. And it kind of seems like, you know, this kid is in a living room, and it's like set in the 1980s, which kind of has a Stranger Things vibe. Gary, did you happen to check out this trailer?
I didn't, unfortunately, no. I don't know a lot about it, although, you know, this kind of Duck Hunt theme has been happening in VR for a while. You know, I think somebody created a game that you could download for free quite a while ago, you know, 6 months ago. And I think it's something that a lot of people are interested in. But no, I didn't see this. I wish I'd had a look before the show.
Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I saw it. You know, I've been following what Stress Level Zero is doing. It's so interesting. I was like, I've heard them talk about it in their videos from time to time. They're like, yeah, we're working on duck season. You know, I'm like, all right, it's just a little like a ode to the, you know, that old game. But yeah, I mean, it looks very interesting. Like, I definitely caught my attention. And then there's one more game that is in early access now this week called Mind Show. And I've been looking at this for a while. I didn't get in the closed alpha or whatever I wanted to, but essentially it lets you create animations just by, you know, you like go into a character and you like move your hands around and talk, and then you can play other characters and you just kind of record each motion separately, and then you can make, like, you can be the cameraman after, and then you just make these videos. And it's kind of a cool concept.
That kind of sounds like Dreams almost, you know, that Dreams for PlayStation.
Yeah, so like I think it's really gonna be fun. I need to check it out. Like, it looks like there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. The trailer kind of shows everything, and it's really entertaining. I just really wish it worked with the Rift, because like in the trailer the microphone's so bad, man. Like, it's the Vive mic, you know. But other than that, it looks fantastic. So I'm gonna have to check that out, and I'll report back next week on how that is.
Okay, that'd be good to hear. Yeah. Well, anyway, we can go on to, we've got a bit of a topic that we want to talk about this week as well, because like I say, news was a little bit light, and I think we're all a little bit light on what we've been playing this week as well. So the topic we wanted is just quite a simple one. It's just, what is our favorite VR game of 2017 so far? And this is sort of a very, very personal choice really at this stage. You know, it's not our game of the year show or anything like that. This is just something that has stuck out to us so far. Anthony, why don't you go first on this? Tell us about your favorite game.
Okay, so I want to mention a couple of games real quick that, like, in the year 2017 that have impressed me, and then I'll tell you what my current top favorite is. So, like, Carnage Chronicles. Carnage Chronicles is a role-playing game that I don't think it gets anywhere near the kind of respect and like people talking about it and attention that it really should get. I know that it's limited. I know there isn't like a super huge amount of content that's there yet, but being in that world, like, I'm a huge fan of Vanishing Realms, and I really like the Mage's Tale, and this is very similar to that, and in some ways I think it does some stuff a little bit better than those other games. And it's like a marriage of like an old school kind of dungeon crawler type game, and then adding VR to it. And I don't know, there's something about it, man. So I just want to give a little shout out to Carnage Chronicles. To the Top, which is this first person platformer game. You're like Sonic the Hedgehog or like Arrow the Acrobat in first person, and you're going through these worlds and jumping on stuff. The soundtrack is so good. That game is just fun. It's just pure fun. Like, if you just want to have 20 minutes of fun, that is the game. I'm trying to think of what else I haven't. Some other big ones. Dead Effect 2. I mean, Dead Effect 2 is really good. But you know what? The game that I have to go to is actually Lone Echo. Lone Echo is my choice right now, game of the year, if I had to call it right now. The thing is, we're talking about, you know, what is our game of the year up to this point? We know that there's some huge games that are coming. I mean, we got Doom, we got Fallout, Skyrim on PSVR. There's lots of interesting stuff that's going to be coming in. That Arctica 1 might still come out this year. From Other Suns, there's a lot of good stuff. But if I had to like call it right now, Lone Echo, the more I play this game, see, I was kind of late to the party a little bit. Like Steve and Gary, Steve, he's not here, of course, but Gary, you got through the game a lot faster than me. I was a little bit behind. I kept getting stuck in some areas. And then I was having some tracking problems with my, my Oculus sensors. I didn't have them in the right spot, didn't have them angled quite right. So I wasn't able to completely enjoy everything. I've fixed everything now, and I've played more Lone Echo. I'm still not completely finished with it, but you know what? When I'm in that game, it's like a movie, man. I mean, you get in that world. It is so amazing. I still can't get over the fact it's just your hands being able to grab any object and just, you grab it and you're there. You just hold it. You're steady. And it's just, there's no flickering. It just works. It feels right. The haptics, like the Oculus Touch controllers don't have like a ton of like varying vibrations and stuff. Like if they do have a little bit of a disadvantage compared to the Vive wands, I think the Vive wands maybe have a little bit more of fine haptics that give a little bit different motor sensations, but it doesn't matter because Ready at Dawn freaking killed it. I don't know what they did, but when you grab something, it feels right. You push off something, you grab something. There's times in that game where I'm just floating in space, just free floating, and like the sun apparently is like back over there, right? And there's one of those like hovercraft ships, you know, that's in front of me. I'm floating along, and you just see my shadow just floating along. And it's like, this is real, man. I'm in here. Like I get lost in that game. You know, when you get to the point where you accidentally grab the biomass and you get taken over, you know, and it's like, you know, you're dying and stuff. That freaks me the hell out so much because I'm so into the world. I get lost in this world. My wife will be like, it's dinner time. And I am in this world, man. I completely forget where I am. Lone Echo, I've got the greatest respect. It does have some faults, like straight up. There are some faults, but right now it's got to be my game of the year at this point. But much love, Carnage Chronicles, To the Top, Dead Effect 2. Love all those games.
Yeah, well, I can just save a bit of time here and just go for... I'm completely with you on both Carnage Chronicles and Lone Echo, to be honest. The Carnage Chronicles doesn't get anywhere near enough attention as far as I'm concerned. I think it's a great title. But yeah, Lone Echo is that is top of my list as well. I've got a few others that I'll mention in a moment, but yeah, Lone Echo for me is way ahead. I mean, not just a little bit. There's a title that I want to mention, which I think is probably for me equally as good, but I know for a lot of people it's not really up there. But I think Lone Echo is without a doubt my favorite VR experience this year. Chris, how about you?
I hate that I agree with all you guys, but man, I love Lone Echo. It's so immersive. Like it's the most immersive game I've ever played. So that's really why I like it. Like you really, like you said, Anthony, you really feel like you're a part of the world. So gosh, I need to finish that game soon. But just some other games I could mention. You know, I play a lot of games with friends. Like they come over, one's in the Rift, one's in the Vive, stuff like that. I played a lot of Vivecraft earlier in the year, probably before I even was on the podcast full time. Like that was just, it's been so fun. You know, we played it probably for like 12 hours straight one time. You just get lost in Minecraft and like, you know, having the ability to free move or free locomote with thumbstick and stuff. It's just really great. Like, you know, if there's people who like Minecraft already, and I used to play it a lot, like it just kind of reinvents the game for me. So that's a good one. In terms of the best like gamepad game, I'd say Eagle Flight. I just really got lost in that one. Like it's so fun to fly around as an eagle. There's never multiplayer games though. Like, you know, no one has the game, so multiplayer is pretty much dead. But I like the mechanic of, you know, tilting your head to turn, and you know, I did that a lot. After I got homework done, I would just kind of fly around for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I play a lot of Rec Room and Dead and Buried and stuff, but like, just, yeah. So far, Lone Echo is probably the best.
Yeah, just on that subject of Vivecraft, because I got into that recently as well, and I had some problems with it after I had it installed for a couple of weeks. I had this jitter sort of every 5 to 6 seconds in Vivecraft, and it got to the point where that was the only thing I could see. So it completely ruined the game for me, really. I actually made a post on Reddit, and the developer said it sounds like the developer of Vivecraft said that it sounds like something to do with garbage collection in Java, which is causing this problem. Some variable within Windows is causing this problem, but I couldn't find anywhere where I could find a solution to this problem. And this is the problem. This is the reason I don't really go into Vivecraft anymore, because I just can't get over this problem. I actually reset Windows in order to try and resolve this problem, and it still didn't do it. I've upgraded my GPU, not for that reason, but I upgraded my GPU and it still does it. So it's something to do with some kind of variable that I can't find a solution to. But one thing I just want to mention, because you mentioned this, Chris, I've actually tried Minecraft in the Windows 10 edition on the Oculus Rift this past week, and I was always under the impression that this only worked as a gamepad game. I didn't realize you could use touch in the way that you can use things in Vivecraft, which you can. It's not quite on a level of Vivecraft in my opinion, but it works in a very, very similar way. Although you can't sort of mine things by just hacking away at them, you still have to press the button. So it's not perfect, but I think it works really well. I just wanted to throw that in there quickly while we're on the subject. But the other games that I want to mention, other than Lone Echo, are Wilson's Heart. I know that not everybody agrees with me on this, but I think Wilson's Heart is one of the best VR games this past year, and it's probably down mainly to my personal taste on this kind of stuff. But I think the narrative is great. One of my main criticisms with it is only that it's probably tries to throw too many things in there, too many little parts of this horror genre. That I don't think always hit the mark. But other than that, I really enjoyed Wilson's Heart. Played through it very quickly, the same as I did with Lone Echo. Other than that, the couple of other titles are Virtual Sports. Nobody talks about Virtual Sports, and it's a small game, but I enjoy it for the table tennis. Everybody always mentions 11 table tennis VR, and I can understand that. I love 11 just as much as the next person. But I think Virtual Sports, in terms of its physics, as well as just how good they are in comparison to 11. I think they're almost on a par, but in slightly different ways in terms of their physics. If you get good at one, you won't necessarily be good at the other. But I think I can, because I play table tennis in real life, and I think you can sort of, once you've been in these games long enough, you can get used to them, and they're realistic enough that you can get used to either game. None of these table tennis games are bang on how it feels in real life, but when you play them often enough, you can have that illusion that they are accurately representing real life table tennis. They're not, but they're close enough to get by in VR at this stage. I don't know, maybe we'll never get there, but it's Virtual Sports. I wanted to mention that because nobody really ever talks about it. And the final one is Just in Time. This was just a nicely original game that just stuck out to me over these past few months, so I think that's worth a mention as well.
I forgot to mention Vindicta. I love Vindicta.
Yeah, it's a good game. I know that you're sort of the fan of Vindicta on VR Roundtable, but I could certainly see why you like that game. I think it is a good game. But just leading on, I don't know, has anybody got anything they want to mention about what they've been playing this last week? Other than that, Anthony, you did have this other topic, sort of the most wanted VR games in the coming months. If somebody wants to talk about what they've been playing this past week, then go ahead. Other than that, we can get onto this other topic.
Well, I did play one pretty big game that has hit VR. Now it's exclusive to PlayStation VR right now, but it is going to be coming to the Rift and to the Vive, I believe, later this year. The game that I'm talking about is Sparc, which is by CCP, which of course is a developer of like Eve Valkyrie and Eve Gunjack and some of those games. And this game, Sparc, is Well, we've had Racket and X, we've had Hollow Ball. There's a lot of Rip Coil. There's a lot of games that kind of have this like Tron, discs of Tron style vibe, where you're like standing on one side of an arena and you're throwing something or you're hitting something, and there's somebody else on the other side and they're doing the same thing, and you're trying to score goals and stuff like that. So I reached out to CCP. This was from VR Game Rankings. I got a code for Sparc, and I've been playing the game. Now, I have to admit, I don't have PlayStation Plus. Like, I'm not really a multiplayer guy. And also, Sony isn't really doing anything for to convince VR gamers to be PlayStation Plus subscribers, because we don't get any free VR games monthly if you have PlayStation Plus. So the only thing you get out of PlayStation Plus, if you're strictly a VR gamer, is multiplayer. And there's not that many multiplayer games. So I don't have Plus. So that does kind of hurt the experience with Sparc, because a huge part of Sparc is multiplayer online, going head to head against people. But still, I'll talk about what I have played with Sparc. And so even if you forget about the fact that I can't play multiplayer right now, I'll probably sign up for like a 2-day thing or something so I can get some time with it. But even if you forget about that, it does have these challenges that you can go into. And it's kind of like a training mode where it's teaching you how to throw the ball, catch the ball, angle it off the walls, and stuff like that. And it's in these modes that I've been playing primarily. And I can tell you guys this, that Sparc feels like a Valve game, okay? There's something special about this game. I'm serious, okay? It has a very subdued, very simple, very what's the word for it? It's like there's not a lot going on, but it's clean, it's crisp. It reminds me of Portal for some reason. I don't know why, but there's something about it that reminds me of Portal. And the real key to the game, though, is it's very similar to Racket and X from the standpoint that there's a feel that you get when you catch the ball, when you throw the ball, when it hits things, when you catch it back. There's a feeling. It's like the vibration of the Move controllers. Again, this is another example. The PlayStation Move controllers have a very aggressive vibration. They don't have anything fancy going on. There's no high def rumble like the Nintendo Switch or anything. PlayStation Move controllers, it's just rumble. It's a rumble, and that's pretty much what it is. But CCP has done a great job. And I think a big part of it is the sound. The sound is really good. They combine the rumble with the sound. This is the same thing that One Hamza did with Racket and X to give you this. There's something about the rumble and the sound and seeing everything that your brain covers everything else. Your brain takes that small amount of information and says, okay, I'm going to craft this experience and make it right. And I'm in this game Sparc, and all I'm doing is doing these training levels, and I'm in there for like over an hour straight. And I very rarely, usually when I'm playing VR, I play for like 35 minutes, and then I take a break and then do something else and then come back, maybe play for an hour or so. I'm never a 2-hour guy or anything like that. But playing this game Sparc, I'm just in there and it feels good. Oh, the other thing too, this is an exercise game, okay? You're going to get a little bit of exercise. Like you're going to get a little hot. You're going to get a little sweaty. You need to have a fan going. So there is that. But the training game that I'm playing right now, it's the simplest thing in the world, okay? So there's a ball that is floating right here, and you have like a shield. Your hands are in the game. You're using Move controllers. You grab the ball, and the ball is floating about 3 or 4 inches above your hand. It's like this shield thing that you have, and the ball's there, okay? So I grab the ball, and then there's these targets that are placed in the distance, like just circular targets, and all I have to do is take this ball and throw it at the target. It hits the target, and the ball goes, and the ball comes back, and I catch it. Throw it at another target. The ball comes back, and I catch it. That's all I'm doing. and it's a time trial, and I'm seeing everybody like their how fast they've done it. You know, I'm seeing the leaderboards, like PSVR Frank, you know, the YouTube guy for PlayStation VR. He was in the top 10. I saw him in there. And so I'm like trying to improve my score and stuff. But I got as high as like 99, I think. So I got into the top 100. But it just feels so good, man. I'm just throwing this ball. It's hitting these things. It's coming back. I'm catching it and I'm throwing it. And when you throw it and the ball is like, it like has a sound to it. Like when you throw it the right way, it feels so good. And you can get these curves. And if you hit the center of the target, it comes back a lot faster. If you hit the outside of the target, it comes back a lot slower. So if you can hit the center of the target, you can improve your time. So I keep trying to improve my time. The only thing I've done, though, is this very first challenge where it's just, you're just throwing things. It's like a training, and it's like the very beginning of it. And that's all I keep playing, and I keep wanting to play it, and it's fun, and it's a great, this might be my favorite exercise game so far.
Maybe
like
maybe you need to get PlayStation Plus just to give this try multiplayer, because I've been looking at some of the impressions from this. Not too many. I haven't really had too much of a chance, but some people really love it, really enjoy the multiplayer. A lot of people, and I think you alluded to this earlier on when you were talking about it, that some people feel like it's a little bit too simple, it's a little bit too basic. But you know, they could be adding things in at a later date, sort of different modes and stuff like this. But obviously you don't feel that way from what you've said.
No, so the very first time, when you first get in there, they do a little training mode, and it's like somebody's throwing a ball at you and you dodge it. You dodge the balls, and then some of the balls you catch them and you throw them back. And the one worry I would have about multiplayer is the same worry that I have for Echo Arena. Is just, you get in there and there's going to be guys that are just freaking experts, and you're just going to get smoked. And so I have a worry about that. But if I could play, if I could play you, Gary, or if I could play Chris, or if I could play Steve, and it's just us, and we can hear each other talk, this would be a hell of a fun game. You know, you're playing along, you're talking about stuff, you're getting exercise. I love the fact, see, I'm one of these people, I sit around too much. I don't do a ton of exercise. So VR, one of the reasons I'm into VR is it gets your ass up off the couch. You're moving around, you're doing something. It might be something relatively minor, but you're moving. As long as you're in motion, it's a good thing. And Sparc, I mean, I'm mostly using my right hand, you know, to grab this ball and throw it, and grab it and throw it. And, but it's great exercise and it's fun. And I do need to try multiplayer for sure, but I'm hoping they have like a private match where you could just get a friend and do it. I don't know. I need to check into it more. I'm very early on. I haven't played it a ton, and I need to get beyond this stage that I'm in, but I'm just, excuse me, I'm just having so much fun just throwing the ball at these targets that I haven't even moved on to anything else yet. But it is, if you don't want an exercise game and you're not into it, I can see it, you know, not really working out for you. And it is $29.99. It's not like a $14.99 game, so it's not super cheap. I will say this though, when this comes to Oculus Touch, and when it comes to the Vive with the better tracking, especially the touch, just how the controllers melt in your hand. So like you're grabbing the ball, and when you're catching it and throwing it back, it's going to feel really good. It feels great on PlayStation VR, but tracking every once in a while gets a little sketch.
Yeah, sounds pretty good. Chris, have you got anything that you want to talk about before we get briefly onto this topic?
Not really.
No. Okay. Well, we can get onto this then. So we had earlier on about the best VR games so far this year, but you know, there's a lot of big games that are coming out towards the end of this year, and we just want to briefly touch on our sort of our most anticipated VR games before 2018. Chris, I'll go over to you first then. I don't know, you know, this was sort of a last minute topic that we added to the show, so I'm sure you've not had a great deal of time to think about this, but what, just sort of off the cuff, what are your first impressions on this?
I am looking forward to the Half-Life 2 mod finally being released. That's one thing I've been waiting on just to try, because I played that demo back on the dev kit 2 with the Razer Hydras, and that was like the first motion controller thing I'd ever done. So I want to, you know, get back into that and see how that works nowadays. Also, I'm sure like everybody, I'm looking forward to Fallout 4 just to play like a AAA game, the full game in VR. But yeah, I didn't really prepare. I can't think of any like indie games that I know are getting released in the future. So like,
Hey guys, why don't I do this? I have VRGameRankings.com. I have our top 20 most wanted. I can just kind of run this down, so like to remind people of what is coming. So we have number 1 is Fallout 4 VR. Number 2 is Skyrim. I know this is PlayStation VR. Number 3 is Arctica 1. Number 4 is Budget Cuts, if it ever comes eventually. Number 5 is Doom VFR. Of course, we're all into that. Half-Life 2 VR mod is number 6. Marvel Powers United VR is number 7. The Impatient, which we already talked about, is number 8. Seeking Dawn, this is one some of us might have forgot about, looks incredibly graphically intense, from Multiverse Entertainment. That's number 9. Transference is this weird project coming from SpectraVision, which is it's almost like got full motion video and stuff. It's kind of an interesting thing coming from like I don't know if it's Ubisoft that's partnered with that. Moss for the PlayStation VR, which is this little mouse character that's running around. That's number 11. We've got the Gallery Episode 2, Heart of the Emberstone or something like that. That is coming supposedly in September, although we haven't heard a release date, and we are in September, so hopefully we'll hear about that soon. From Other Suns is coming from Gunfire Games, hopefully this year for the Oculus Rift. The Persistence is coming to PlayStation VR. This kind of looks like Dead Space in VR almost. Metaworld coming on the 29th. Payday 2 VR whenever that happens. Stifled by Gatai Games. Stifled is this game where you're like blind and it's dark everywhere, but when you make a noise, it kind of like shows the world around you, but it's like in wireframe, and it's like a horror game. It looks super cool, really cool idea that they have for that. Dimension Dude is a game that you guys probably have no freaking idea what this is, but if you saw some screenshots and a video of it, you'd think this looks hella cool. It's coming from, I believe, a Norwegian studio. And Bravo Team by Supermassive Games. And then at number 20, we have Sparc, which obviously will be coming to the other platforms as well. So that's our top 20, just to kind of remind you guys of some of the big ones that are coming.
Yeah, to be honest, one of the main ones that is, you know, if you asked me this question a few weeks ago, this is a game that wouldn't have appeared on this list, and I'm surprised actually not to hear it on that list that you've just said, Anthony, only because it stuck out to me. I know it's not a big title, I know it's not really got a lot of publicity, but this is Aspire 1, and this got a fair amount of publicity a few weeks ago because of the locomotion method. I know we saw this video where the locomotion method involved the world shrinking down and to sort of an iPad size screen in front of you, allowing you smooth locomotion, but beyond that, the actual game itself was really interesting to me. It's a stealth game, and you know, just some of the mechanics in there in this little video were very interesting. So I wanted to mention that before I get onto the big hitters. For me, you know, Fallout 4 is probably my number 1 game that I'm looking forward to. I don't know, you know, we're hearing various reports of this game from events that are going on, so we'll see how well it turns out. Another one, you know, the Gallery, you mentioned that, Anthony. The Gallery is high on my list as well. I think the Gallery is good. I really enjoyed the first episode, so I'm obviously looking forward to the second one. And from what I hear about the second one, it's a lot bigger in scope. not necessarily an open world, but certainly getting towards that stage. It's far more vast area that you're able to explore in that second episode, from what I've heard. Another one, which I don't know too much about, but it looks interesting, is called Tau Ceti. I don't know if you guys have heard about that one, but that looks quite interesting. Really good graphics. And finally, yeah, I'll agree with Chris on this one. Half-Life 2 VR mod. I'm really looking forward to that as well. But Anthony, we'll go over to you now.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm looking forward to all these things, but yeah, if I had to like wrap it up into a couple of them, I mean, Fallout 4, I don't care. People can say that it's not that great or it's got this problem or that problem, but this is the dream. This is what I've been dreaming of. I remember Fallout 3. I remember playing Fallout 3 on my little computer monitor and just walking through the wasteland and just seeing these buildings that are dilapidated and like mostly empty, and you walk inside the building and the wind is like whistling around you, and you see these like skeletons and like things that are left on the table and stuff, and that's just so magical to me, man. That's the stuff I eat up. And so that Fallout 4 VR is a dream come true on December 12th. That's my dream. That's number one. There's nothing that can touch it as far as I'm concerned. Number two for me, I'm going to have to go with Arctica 1 because graphics, man. This game just looks like a graphical powerhouse. I definitely need a new video card, I think, before I get this. We haven't heard when Arctica 1 is coming. Now, Oculus has kind of had this policy where they're going to have one big game a month. And I know they have Brass Tactics, which is from Hidden Path Entertainment. It's like a real-time strategy game. I know they got Arctica 1, they got From Other Suns, and I think there's a couple of others that they have. So I'm not sure how they're going to mix those out for these last 4 months of this year. Hopefully Arctica 1 still makes it. I know people kind of poo-poo the game a little bit because it does have this node movement system, which a lot of people feel is kind of like a handicap. And that is true, but I still, this is 4A games. These are the guys that made Metro and those games like that. And those games are just dripping with atmosphere. And those games seemed like they were in VR when they weren't even in VR. I mean, they did a lot to put you into that world. So now that they're actually putting you into that world, that's incredibly exciting. And Half-Life 2 VR mod, I'll mention that one too, just because Half-Life 2, the thing that I love about it is I haven't completely finished Half-Life 2. So many people have played Half-Life 2 3-4 times. They know it by heart. It's going to be an exciting experience for me because I've probably only played like halfway through this thing. Now, one thing I will say, though, when it comes to this Half-Life 2 VR mod, I'm always talking to this buddy of mine, this other VR guy, about this game, and he believes like this game is just around the corner. For some reason, I have this pessimistic view that there's something that's going to screw this up and prevent this from coming out on a timely manner. Like, I don't know. I feel like Valve, what if Valve has like some secret plan that we don't know about for their previous games? And then here's this mod. Well, this mod could possibly directly affect the secret plan that they, I mean, you know, I don't know. I just feel like there's something that's going to screw with this.
Yeah, I do understand that. In fact, I've had exactly the same thought, but it did get through on Steam Greenlight. So you'd think if it got through that, then they'd allow it to happen whenever it eventually happens. I was under the impression that this was going to be relatively soon, but I don't know. Looking at because it's got its own subreddit, and you can go on there. And the developers of this, they're doing it in their spare time. So you can't expect too much from them in terms of like getting it out in the next couple of weeks or anything. You've got to respect what they're doing. And whenever it comes, I'll be there waiting for it.
We've seen from Doom 3 BFG and also from Alien Isolation that you can take a game and you can modify it a little bit for VR, and you can still have a really magical experience. And then also the Half-Life 2, graphically, it's not a powerhouse. Now, I know they've like redone a lot of stuff, but hopefully this game will run smoothly. I just know that when this game hits, like I'm going to be on Reddit one day and it's going to be like Half-Life 2 VR mod is out. And it's like, oh my God, I got to get to my PC. I got to download this shit. I got to get it up and running. It's going to be awesome. Hopefully it's got to be soon, right?
I hope so, but like I say, I think because these developers, from everything they're putting on this subreddit, they're holding back. I think they could possibly be in a position where they could release it now, but they're holding back. They want to get it right. From everything they talk about, when you see these guys talk about this, they're passionate about it. They've been working on it for years, and they want to make sure that when it's finally released, they get it right. So I hope they do that, even if it doesn't come till sort of mid next year. I'll be there.
Yeah, there's now that you guys told me the list, I'm really excited for From Other Suns. I completely forgot about it, but since I like doing some multiplayer stuff with my friends, that seems like one of the most fun things that'll ever happen. So I'm excited for that to come out.
I don't really know too much about that game, but I do know that it's Gunfire Games, and they did Chronos and stuff. They're a great studio, so. But I need to look into more about that game. But I know it's a big Oculus one, supposedly this year.
Yeah, I just want to mention as well this Tau Ceti that I briefly spoke about earlier. This is actually being developed by the guys who did. Let me just have a quick look. Dead Effect 2 VR. So this is sort of their next game, but it's being made. Now, I don't know. I should have looked into this a little before, but I don't know if it's been a monitor game as well, a flat game as well as VR, or if this is their first venture into solely VR. I'm not sure.
Is that Badfly Interactive?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Because, man, like when we mentioned our favorite games of the year, Dead Effect 2 VR really snuck up on me. I mean, it's a damn good game. So it's like all these companies when they make one good VR game and then now it's their next game, that's always super intriguing, because it seems like a lot of times you just need to get something under your belt. You get that experience, and then the next game is when it can really hit.
Yeah, it looks a little bit more interesting to me than Dead Effect 2, only because it feels like there's more sort of outside sections. It's not sort of in dark corridor-based environments like Doom 3. This is more sort of in a outside, bright, sunshine kind of environments, but it's still a first-person shooter, although I think it also has some RPG elements as well in there. But, we'll wait and see. I don't know too much else about that. Okay, before we finish off the show, it's a little bit shorter this week, but has anybody got anything they want to mention before I finish off?
No, just thanks for everybody that have left a review on iTunes, and thanks for the comments on the YouTube channel and stuff. We definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely appreciated. We like any sort of interaction with us. If you leave a comment on the video, we will always try to reply. It's not always possible, but I noticed the last few videos we had a few people leave comments on there and we didn't get to replying to them, so we apologize for that, but we'll try to reply to people who do post on the videos. And also reviews are always appreciated. But we'll be back next week with episode 52. We're 1 year on. We were trying to work out, actually, I looked into this. We were trying to work out exactly how long VR Roundtable has been going for. Anthony, did you have any luck with this? Because we're on episode 52, but I don't know if it's exactly 1 year or not.
No, I don't know. I didn't look at it. I'm sorry. I should have checked. I mean, I would think we could just look at the very first episode, that it would have the post date, right? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll discuss this after. There's complications with that because we moved channel halfway through as well. So, but yeah, we'll either way, episode 52 should be a good show because hopefully we'll all be there to, we'll be there for 1 year, whether it's actually year or not. But yeah, thanks for watching episode 51, and yeah, please leave a comment, write a review, and subscribe to us. Always appreciated. But we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Take it easy.